Listen, if you're wondering what is or who is a guarantor, you're in the right place at the right time, because being a guarantor for someone is a great way to support their academic journey, but it comes with risks that you should be aware of. I want to be aware of too, I'm sure. Spread grandson wants to be aware
for taking notes.
Yes, I'm ready. So, Money Masterclass guru Carlton joins us to go over the fine print. Carlton, over to you, boss.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, teacher.
I like how the class was of the men this morning.
Yeah.
Full up the class, because sometimes we hear that the men are not in class. You know, them in front of the class.
Money.
But you're in the front of the because it's money. You're in the front of the class this morning.
Yeah.
It's class time. So welcome, Mr. Spoiler Grandson.
Appreciate
And it is your first class.
It's our first class.
Take note.
Yes.
Welcome to you, sir. I'm glad that you're here.
We'll put in the date.
Maybe he's been sculling.
Maybe he's been sculling, but let us fix that right now. So before we go any further, I want to think that a little bit different this morning. We're in our social space, and we have a question from one of our viewers, and we want to share it, and then we jump into class this morning. Let's just hit that, and then we'll drop back into what we want to do this morning. All right, so we have currency Q&A with Carlton. So for persons who have their questions, please feel free. But the question that came in, I am 24 years old, and my partner wants me to sign as a guarantor for him to get a car loan. He said that his credit isn't as good, so he wants me to help him out. What is this? Is that a good idea, Carlton? I got this question on TikTok, and I thought to myself, how am I going to approach this? But before I answer the question, let's jump in the class, and then we'll all answer the question together. All of us answer the question together. Right. So what or who is a guarantor? So it's really an individual who promises to sign on a loan for you, and they will say really and truly, if you don't repay the loan, I am good for it. I will pay the loan on your behalf, just in case there's any challenges. When we start, just to be clear, it is not only for educational purposes only. So you don't only need a guarantor for a back-to-school loan or a school loan. You can use a guarantor for any other facility. But why would a bank ask you to get a guarantor, or why would you need a guarantor, IT, or Miss Pearlie Grandson? Number one, maybe you can't afford the loan on your own. So your income is not enough, it's not sufficient to get the loan. So we'll say you're earning $10, maybe somebody else can earn another $10, so together you're earning $20, and we can use that as the purpose to give you the loan. So number one, affordability. Number two, you may have bad credit. So in the past, you may have taken a loan, and you didn't pay the loan too well. So banks are now shying away to give you a loan because you didn't handle your debt well in the past. They will say, here what, I will give you the loan if you can find somebody who is better at repaying this loan than how you were in the past, and I'll give you the loan. So that can help you at that point in time. And number three, you're unable to meet the requirements. So, for example, if you're taking a loan, you must be employed for at least a year or 2 years. Stability. So if somebody is just employed, maybe about 2 or 3 months, you really want a loan, and the bank's all right, maybe I can give Ed a loan because he has good credit history in the past, but you're not yet in a full job that is, you know, a year or 2 years, get somebody who's more stable than you are to do the loan. So there are some reasons why they'll ask you to get a guarantor on a facility. But the pros and the cons, really and truly, the pros is really for the borrower. And I'll run through them quickly. Number one, it helps the borrower to get the loan because they couldn't get it on their own. Number two, it allows them to borrow a higher amount because on their own, they could have got maybe a house for $10 million. Now you're a guarantor, they can get a house for $20 million because there's much more income. And number three, it helps the borrower to improve their credit because if they had bad credit in the past, now they're able to borrow and to prove themselves that, hey, I've improved myself, I've rehabilitated myself, I'm a better person now. So give me a second chance. So you as a guarantor are really helping the borrower to get a second chance in the credit life, all right? But the cons are really on you, the guarantor, because number one, you as a guarantor, you are possibly liable for the debt. If Miss Pearlie Grandson take the loan, do him school, IT, and run off for South Carolina, I want to hear from you again, IT, guess what? You now have this loan to contend with because as a guarantor, you have to now pay the loan because you have signed every document while they were taking the actual loan.
So, you know, typically, so the guarantor is like the person who is kind of symbolically taking the loan at the same time
Correct.
as the actual borrower, right?
But, Gaity, but you just come class and you're bright already. You know, you're only in the class. Look at this. Number two, your credit score can be impacted because the loan is now a joint facility because you're a guarantor. So if he decides not to pay the loan, you don't have the money to pay the loan, guess what? Even though he was the main borrower, you are now impacted. Your credit report is now impacted because Miss Pearl's grandson decides not to repay the facility, and you can't repay the facility either. So it is that you are impacted. And number three, you may be impacted to get a loan in the future. So for example, you join together and you got a loan, and you're now ready to take out your own loan. But the reality is your income was used to get a loan over this side as a guarantor. So now, in previous classes, we dealt through what is called your debt service ratio, which is what the bank is asking for. You need to be at least 45% of your income. But because you have already given 20% over to somebody else, you are now at a position where chances you may not be able to get the loan that you want in the future because your salary is now tied up somewhere else already.
Me teacher.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I have actually done some additional reading around this topic because I'm that student, right?
Okay, wonderful.
One of the things that is important to note, for especially people who choose to be a guarantor for student loan, is that if you happen to go on a J1 program, and after the program you are trying to remain in the States, had you signed for somebody as a guarantor, that actually has the potential to prevent you remaining in the United States. So if at the end of your J1 program, you have not, the debt has not been completely settled, that prevents you.
That prevents you. So you want to consider this thing. So let me jump into the question.
At the same time.
Visa get cancelled. So to the social media question that was asked, should I sign? I want to ask the person these questions and you can chime in quickly. Before you say yes to sign as a guarantor, ask these questions. Number one, why did they ask me? Why me? Go ask your mother, go ask your father, go ask your sister. Why are you asking me? Why me? Number two, is this person a responsible person? Have you loaned them money before? Have they repaid it? Do you know of them owing other people? You want to ask those questions. Do they normally borrow and don't pay? Live outside of their means? Ask those questions. Number three, what's the loan purpose? Do they want this loan for something frivolous or to advance themselves? You want to know that. And will this affect our relationship at the end of the day? You want to know that. Because if it will affect the relationship, chances are you should not be doing it. So to the young lady that posed the question, ask these questions before you go and sign. Tell them go ask your mother, go ask your father, go ask somebody else. But you want to ask it because you're very young, you have a car either to buy, your house to buy. The relationship may not even last. You're 23 or 24 years old. It may or it may not last. But ask these important questions because it will impact your future financially if you just sign for every and anybody. If you have any other questions like these, please feel free to send them over to our social media platform, CVM at Sunrise, or anywhere on my platform at Carlton G Stu. Let us get those questions up for you. All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, teacher. I need to know when the test is going to be so that I can be prepared for it.
Definitely.
Yes,
Sharing with us. On the other side of the break, Sunrisers, we'll
We're going to home it. We're going to home it. We're going to home it. NHT.
We're going to home it.
Yes.
We're going to home it with the NHT. Please stay with us if you want to learn about that, because you need to home it.
I don't want to ask you a question because Miss Pearl's grandson's wife asked me to guarantor a loan for her, and I don't know why she don't ask Miss Pearl's grandson.
Wait.
So I'm going to talk to you about it after the break.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that.